The contract. The holographic display bathed Marcus Chen's face in an eerie blue glow as he reviewed the classified transmission for the fifth time. His weathered features remained stoic, but his hand tightened around the datapad until his knuckles turned white. Beside him, Alina Chen stood perfectly still, her dark eyes fixed on the images of devastation scrolling past. 47 families, she whispered, her voice carrying the weight of controlled fury. All of them slaughtered during the colony's harvest festival. The images showed the aftermath of what the Zarkanian Empire had officially labeled a tragic accident at the Perseus colony. But Marcus and Alina had spent too many years in the field to believe in accidents. The precision of the attacks, the systematic destruction of communication arrays, and the selective targeting of family units all pointed to something far more sinister. "They're calling it an accident," Marcus said, his tone flat and dangerous. "But look at these impact patterns." He gestured to a detailed scan of the destruction. "These aren't random. They're hunting formations." Alina leaned closer, her cybernetic eye whirring softly as it enhanced the imagery. The Zarkanian royal family's annual hunt. Her lips curled in disgust. "They turned our colonists into game." The secure chamber deep within Earth's Shadow Operations Complex fell silent as they continued analyzing the data. After 20 years of working as humanity's most effective wetwork team, the Chens had seen their share of atrocities. But this was different. This wasn't just a mission. It was personal. A soft chime announced the arrival of their handler, Director Sarah Zhang. She entered without ceremony, her pressed uniform a stark contrast to the Chen's tactical gear. "I assume you've reviewed the package." Marcus nodded once. "We have questions." "The Zarkanian royal family has diplomatic immunity," Zhang stated, anticipating their first concern. "Any official action would trigger an interstellar incident, potentially a war humanity isn't ready to win. Not yet." "Unofficial action, then," Alina said, her cybernetic hand flexing unconsciously. "Why us?" Zhang's expression hardened. "Because you're the best, and because you understand loss." She placed a new datapad on the table. 3 years ago, you lost your daughter in what was claimed to be a shipping accident near Zarkanian space. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Marcus's face remained impassive, but Alina's cybernetic eye flared red for a brief moment. "That was no accident, was it?" Marcus asked quietly. "No." Zhang's response was equally soft. "We believe she was taken during one of their earlier hunts. We just couldn't prove it. Until now." Alina's hand found Marcus's, their fingers intertwining. 2 decades of working together had taught them to communicate volumes through the smallest gestures. In that touch was shared grief, rage, and determination. "The contract is simple," Zhang continued, activating a holographic display of the Zarkanian royal palace. "The entire royal family. Every last one of them. Make it look like internal politics gone wrong. We'll provide you with everything you need. Weapons, credentials, transport. The compensation package." "Keep it," Alina interrupted. "This one's pro bono." Marcus nodded in agreement, already studying the palace schematics. "How many targets?" 16 primary targets in the royal line. King Vexthor, Queen Mother Zira, their 4 offspring, and various others of royal blood. Zhang's fingers danced across the display, highlighting key figures. "But there's a complication. They're gathering for their centennial celebration. Additional security, visiting dignitaries." "Perfect." Marcus cut in, his eyes gleaming. "They'll be all in one place." Alina was already making notes, her cybernetic interface linking directly with the tactical database. "We'll need specific loadouts. Their biology is different from standard Zarkanian nobles. Enhanced healing, reinforced skeletal structure. Already arranged," Zhang confirmed. "You leave in 6 hours. The celebration begins in 3 days. Your cover identities are already in place. You'll be posing as traders from the Orient Confederation." Marcus finally looked up from the schematics. "One last thing. If we find any survivors from their hunts, extract them if possible, Zhang nodded. But the primary mission takes precedence. We can't risk exposure. The next few hours passed in focused preparation. The Chens moved through their pre-mission routine with practiced efficiency, checking and double-checking their specialized equipment. Each piece was chosen specifically for Zarkanian physiology: monomolecular blades that could pierce their reinforced hide, neurotoxins tailored to their unique biology, and explosives that could breach their energy shields. As they boarded their specially modified stealth ship, Alina paused at the airlock. "Sarah," she called back to Zhang. "The Perseus colony, were there any survivors?" Zhang's hesitation told them everything they needed to know. 3 children, hidden in a grain silo. She swallowed hard. They watched their families being hunted. Marcus's hand tightened on his weapon case. Alina's cybernetic eye shifted through various spectrum analyses, a habit she'd developed when processing intense emotions. "Those children will never feel safe again," Alina said quietly. "They'll always be looking over their shoulders, wondering when the monsters will return." "Then give them something else to remember," Zhang replied. "Show them that when monsters prey on humanity, we send worse monsters after them." The airlock sealed with a soft hiss. As their ship detached from the station, Marcus and Alina began their final equipment check. Their movements were precise, economical, born from years of working in perfect synchronization. "They won't see us coming," Marcus said softly, checking the sight alignment on his custom rifle. Alina loaded a magazine of specialized ammunition, her cybernetic eye glowing with quiet intensity. "No, they'll be too busy celebrating their hunts to realize they've become the prey." The ship's engines hummed to life, and Earth's orbital defense grid parted to let them through. As they accelerated toward their jump point, Alina accessed the files of the Perseus colony victims one last time. She memorized each face, each name, adding them to the weight she already carried. Their daughter's image appeared last, a school photo from 3 years ago, her smile bright and innocent. Alina touched the screen gently before closing the file. "For Sarah," she whispered, "and for all of them." Marcus programmed the jump coordinates, his expression set in grim determination. "They wanted to hunt humans. Let's show them how humans hunt back." The ship disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with it humanity's vengeance wrapped in the precise, lethal package of 2 professional assassins, with nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. The hunt was about to begin. Blood in the palace. The royal palace of Zarkan Prime stretched toward the binary suns like a monument to excess, its crystalline spires refracting light in dazzling patterns across the capital city. From their vantage point in the diplomatic quarter, Marcus and Alina watched the constant stream of ships arriving for the centennial celebration. "Security scan incoming," Marcus murmured, adjusting his molecular scrambler. The device hummed softly, masking their biological signatures to match the registered patterns of aura intraders. Alina's cybernetic eye shifted through spectrum analyses, cataloging guard rotations and shield frequencies. 3 more patrols added since yesterday. They're getting nervous. News of Duke Vexral's death had spread quickly through the palace, a tragic hunting accident on his private reserve. The fact that he was found with a precision hole through his skull, matching exactly the kill shots he used on human children, was a detail kept from public broadcasts. "The Queen Mother has doubled her personal guard," Alina noted, watching the palace's energy readings fluctuate. "But she's still insisting the celebration continue." "Pride," Marcus replied, checking his encrypted datapad. "They can't show weakness, especially not now." He pulled up the guest list they'd sliced from the palace mainframe. Tonight's welcoming feast puts all remaining targets in one place. Alina's lips curved in a cold smile. How considerate of them. They moved through the diplomatic district with practiced ease, their covers as Orion trade representatives holding perfectly under scrutiny. The Zarkanians' natural arrogance worked in their favor. Few bothered to look too closely at lesser species attending their grand celebration. The palace interior was a maze of opulence and hidden security measures. Gravitational sensors, DNA scanners, and neural pattern readers were woven seamlessly into the architecture. But the Chens had spent months preparing for this. Every step was calculated, every movement designed to avoid triggering the complex security web. Lady Xyrus approaches, Marcus subvocalized through their secure comlink. Second daughter coordinates the royal hunting expeditions. Elena turned slightly, her cybernetic eye capturing every detail of the Zarkanian noble. Tall, elegant with the distinctive silver-scaled skin of the royal line. She moved with the predatory grace common to her species, but there was something else in her bearing. A casual cruelty that made Elena's artificial hand tighten imperceptibly. "I remember her voice," Elena replied softly. From the Perseus colony recordings, she laughed when they found the children hiding. Marcus's response was intercepted by the approach of their target. Lady Xyrus paused before them, her head tilted in that peculiarly alien way that reminded Elena of a reptile considering its prey. "Orion representatives," Xyrus purred, her translator rendering her words into oddly accented standard. "How quaint. I wasn't aware your confederation rated an invitation." Elena bowed precisely to protocol. Not too deep, maintaining the dignity of a trade representative. "The Orion Confederation values its relationship with the Empire, Your Grace. We're honored to attend this historic celebration." Xyrus's multifaceted eyes studied them with predatory interest. "You seem familiar. Have you attended our hunting expeditions?" "We haven't had that pleasure," Marcus replied smoothly, while Elena focused on maintaining her neutral expression. "Though we've heard they're quite memorable." "Oh yes." Xyrus's smile revealed rows of crystalline teeth. "Each hunt is unique. The thrill of the chase, the moment of capture. There's nothing quite like it. Perhaps you'd care to join us for our next expedition. We've found some fascinating new territories to explore." Elena's cybernetic systems registered a spike in her adrenaline levels, but her voice remained steady. "We would be honored, Your Grace." As Xyrus glided away, Marcus's hand brushed Elena's briefly. A reminder, a warning, a promise. Not yet. The timing had to be perfect. The welcoming feast was a display of conspicuous wealth that bordered on obscene. Rare delicacies from 100 worlds were served on plates of pure crystal, while anti-gravity fountains sprayed shimmer-wind wine in impossible patterns. The royal family sat elevated above the other guests, their silver scales gleaming under the artificial stars that danced across the ceiling. Elena watched them through her cybernetic eye, recording everything. King Vexthor, massive and aggressive even by Zarkanian standards. The Queen Mother, ancient and cunning, her scales dulled with age, but her eyes sharp as knives. The princes and princesses, each carrying themselves with the absolute certainty of those who had never faced consequences for their actions. Shield harmonics recorded. Elena subvocalized. Security rotations mapped. "We're ready." Marcus made a subtle gesture of acknowledgement, his attention apparently focused on the diplomatic small talk around them. "Time for the next phase. Your turn." Elena rose gracefully, making her way toward one of the anti-gravity fountains. Her movements were precise, calculated to draw just enough attention. As she passed Lady Xyrus's chair, her cybernetic hand released a microscopic drone, barely larger than a dust mote. The drone carried a specialized neurotoxin, designed specifically for Zarkanian physiology. By morning, Lady Xyrus would be dead, her nervous system betraying her in ways that perfectly mimicked a rare genetic condition known to affect the royal line. 1 down, 15 to go. The feast continued late into the night, a celebration of excess and power. None of the revelers noticed the small drones that Elena released throughout the evening, or the nearly invisible strips of molecular explosive that Marcus placed at key structural points. As they retired to their diplomatic quarters, Elena accessed the palace's security feeds through her cybernetic interface. All drones in position. Toxin delivery beginning in 3 hours. Marcus began unpacking their specialized equipment, laying out the tools for the next phase. The Queen Mother's paranoia works in our favor. When Xeris dies, she'll suspect internal politics. And when the structural supports fail during tomorrow's security lockdown, Alina's smile was sharp in the darkness. Chaos, Marcus finished. Perfect cover for close-range work. They spent the next hour in comfortable silence, preparing their weapons and reviewing their targets. The weight of their mission, of the lives they were avenging, hung heavy in the air between them. Alina, Marcus's voice was soft. I found something in the security files. About Sarah. Alina's hand stilled on her weapons. Show me. He transmitted the data to her cybernetic interface. Files, recordings, trophy images from the hunt that had taken their daughter. Alina absorbed them in seconds, her artificial eye glowing brighter with each new piece of information. It was Xeris, she said finally, her voice deadly calm. She led that hunt personally. Marcus watched his wife carefully. Does this change the plan? Alina was silent for a long moment, her cybernetic systems processing the surge of emotion. Finally, she shook her head. No, quick death is too good for her. Let her die slowly, wondering why her body is betraying her. Let her feel helpless, like those children did. For Sarah, Marcus said softly. For all of them, Alina replied, her voice hardening with purpose. Tomorrow, we show them what it means to hunt humans. Outside their window, the binary suns began to set, casting the crystal palace in blood-red light. The celebration continued below, the Zarkanian nobility secure in their power and privilege, none of them realizing that the predators had already infiltrated their midst, and the hunt had already begun. Death was coming to the royal palace, and it wore a human face. The royal hunt. Dawn broke over Zarkan Prime to the sound of explosions. The Crystal Palace's eastern wing shattered in a cascade of precision detonations, its security systems wailing in confusion as structural supports failed exactly as planned. Through the chaos, Marcus and Alina moved like shadows, their molecular scramblers masking them from the palace's desperate scanning systems. Lady Xeris is dead, Alina reported, her cybernetic eye processing multiple security feeds simultaneously. The Queen Mother's already ordered 3 of her own guards executed for suspected treachery. Marcus checked his specialized rifle, designed to penetrate Zarkanian energy shields. How long until they realize it's not internal? They won't. Their arrogance won't allow them to consider external threats. Not yet. The palace corridors had become a maze of panic and suspicion. Armed guards rushed past their hiding spot, their scaled armor clattering as they responded to multiple false alarms Alina had triggered throughout the complex. The royal family was scattered, each member retreating to their personal safe rooms, exactly as the Chens had predicted. Prince Vexthor is isolating himself in the hunting lodge, Marcus noted, watching the security feeds, taking his personal guard with him. Alina's artificial hand flexed. The recordings show he was the one who caught Sarah. Made it into a game. Then let's play a game with him. They moved through the palace's maintenance tunnels, their path calculated to avoid the increasing security suites. The hunting lodge was a separate structure, connected to the main palace by a crystalline bridge. It was where the royal family planned their hunts, decorated with trophies from their victims across a dozen worlds. Alina's cybernetic eye cataloged each trophy as they passed. Human artifacts. Personal effects from the Perseus colony victims. They're displaying them like prizes. Not for much longer. The prince's security was formidable. Elite guards with advanced combat augmentations, automated defense turrets, and personal shield generators. But the Chens had spent months studying Zarkanian military protocols. They knew the weaknesses, the blind spots, the moments of vulnerability. Alina launched her next wave of microscopic drones, targeting the guards' breathing apparatus. Within minutes, the elite soldiers began to stumble, their enhanced reflexes dulled by carefully calibrated toxins. The prince is sealing himself in the inner sanctuary, Marcus observed, watching through his tactical display. Paranoid. Scared. Good. Alina's voice was cold. He should be. The inner sanctuary's doors were 3 feet of reinforced alloy, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. They weren't designed to withstand the specialized charges the Chins had brought. Human technology, developed specifically for this mission. The explosion was precisely controlled, reaching the door while maintaining the structural integrity of the trophy room beyond. Prince Vexthor spun to face them, his personal shield flaring to life as he reached for his ceremonial hunting rifle. Humans. His translator glitched with surprise and contempt. How dare you? Alina's first shot pierced his shield, as if it wasn't there, the specialized round shattering his knee. The prince collapsed, his rifle clattering away unfired. How? He snarled, trying to drag himself toward a concealed panic button. Our defenses were designed to stop armies, Marcus said quietly, stepping into the room. Not assassins, not hunters. Recognition flickered in the prince's multifaceted eyes. The Perseus colony. This is about that little hunt. He laughed, a harsh sound despite his pain. Such emotion over mere prey. Alina's second shot took his other knee. We found your trophy room, she said, her cybernetic eye glowing crimson. The collections from all your hunts. The personal effects. The recordings. You enjoyed it, Marcus continued, his voice deadly calm. Making them run. Making them hide. Teaching your children how to track humans for sport. The prince's scales rippled with fear now, but his arrogance remained. We are the apex predators of this galaxy. It is our right. No, Alina interrupted. You're just another target, and we're the apex predators now. The prince's death was neither quick nor clean. They made sure he had time to understand what was happening, to feel what his victims had felt. When it was done, they positioned his body carefully, a message to the others, a promise of what was coming. As they prepared to move to their next target, Alina's cybernetic systems detected a massive energy surge from the main palace. Multiple ships breaking quarantine, she reported. The royal family is trying to evacuate. Marcus checked his ammunition. They're running. They won't get far. Alina's artificial hand transformed, reconfiguring into a more lethal configuration. I uploaded a virus to their navigation systems hours ago. Every ship they board will take them exactly where we want them. They moved through the trophy room, systematically destroying every display, every record of the royal family's hunts. As they reached the exit, Alina paused by a small cabinet. Inside was a child's drawing, taken from the Perseus colony. Her cybernetic eye identified the artist, one of the children who had hidden in the grain silo, who had watched their family die. They're watching, Alina said softly. The survivors. The families. They'll know soon. Marcus touched her shoulder gently. Then let's make sure they see everything. Let's show them what happens when humanity hunts back. Above them, the binary suns reached their zenith, casting harsh shadows through the shattered crystal walls. The palace was in chaos, the royal family scattered and fleeing, their carefully maintained illusion of invulnerability shattered along with their sanctuary. The hunters moved on, following their prey's desperate flight. There would be no escape, no mercy, no quick deaths. The Zarkanian royals had wanted to experience the thrill of the hunt. Now they would experience it from the other side, as prey rather than predators. And in the burning ruins of their trophy room, Prince Vexthor's body lay arranged in a familiar pose, the same position they had found Sarah's body in 3 years ago. A message to those who would find it. The hunters had become the hunted. The royal hunt had begun again. But this time, humanity was doing the hunting. Empires fall. The Queen Mother's flagship hung in high orbit like a predatory creature, its crystalline hull reflecting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. But Alina's cybernetic eye saw past the beauty to the desperate modifications being made. Weapon systems hastily activated, shield generators pushed beyond safe limits. They're scared, Marcus observed from their stolen interceptor's cockpit. The Queen Mother has ordered the execution of 30 more staff members in the last hour. She's seeing assassins in every shadow. Good. Elena's artificial hand interfaced with their ship's systems, processing tactical data. The virus is working perfectly. Every ship that tried to escape in has brought them right back to Zarkin Prime. The royal family's evacuation had turned into a trap of the Chen's design. Each attempt to flee led them into carefully prepared kill zones. 3 more royal children had died in their escape pods, their deaths looking like tragic accidents or betrayals by their own security forces. The Queen Mother's getting desperate, Marcus said, studying the flagship's energy readings. She's called for reinforcements from the outer colonies, ships that won't arrive in time. Elena's smile was cold. And even if they did, they're not looking for human assassins. They're searching for Zarkanian conspirators. Their interceptor glided through the debris field of destroyed escape pods, its stealth systems making it virtually invisible to the flagship's scanning arrays. They had planned this phase carefully. The Queen Mother would be their most challenging target yet. Security feed intercepted, Elena reported, her cybernetic eye processing the encrypted data. The Queen's in the command center. Elena paused, her expression hardening. She's watching the hunt recordings. All of them. She's enjoying them. Marcus checked his specialized weaponry one final time. Then let's give her a new recording to watch. Their approach to the flagship was timed perfectly with a solar flare from the binary stars, the radiation masking their heat signature as they latched onto the hull near an emergency airlock. Elena's cybernetic systems made short work of the security protocols, while Marcus prepared their specialized breaching charges. Inside, the flagship was a maze of crystalline corridors and security checkpoints. But the crew was distracted, jumping at shadows, suspicious of their own comrades. The Chens moved through them like ghosts, their molecular scramblers bending light around them. My queen. A guard burst into the command center ahead of them. We found evidence of betrayal in the engine room. Chief Engineer Vexnal was spotted tampering with. The Queen Mother's shot took him in the throat, her ceremonial pistol smoking. Another traitor, she hissed, her translator struggling to convey the mixture of fear and rage in her voice. They're everywhere. My own people, turning against me. Elena and Marcus watched from their hidden position as the ancient Zarkanian monarch began to unravel. The Queen Mother's scales had lost their luster, her movements jerky with paranoia. On the screens around her, recordings of various hunts played in a continuous loop, her family's greatest triumphs now serving as a reminder of their vulnerability. Security teams report multiple breaches. Another officer reported nervously, but we can't find any intruders. The scanners show nothing but ghosts. Because you're incompetent, the Queen Mother shrieked, firing again. The officer fell, adding to the growing pile of bodies around her throne. I am surrounded by traitors and fools. Now, Marcus whispered. Elena's cybernetic systems interfaced with the flagship's computer core, triggering a cascade of failures in its life support systems. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, isolating the command center. The Queen Mother's personal shield flickered as power fluctuations rippled through the ship. Show yourselves, she screamed into the darkness, firing wildly. Face me, traitors. As you wish. Elena deactivated her molecular scrambler, stepping into view. Marcus appeared beside her, his specialized rifle trained on the Queen. Recognition dawned in the monarch's multifaceted eyes. Humans. Here? She laughed, a sound of genuine amusement despite her fear. You came all this way to die. No, Marcus said quietly. We came to show you what it feels like to be hunted. The Queen Mother's shield flared as she fired. But the Chens had already moved. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, years of working together making them seem like a single deadly entity. Elena's artificial hand launched a barrage of microscopic drones, while Marcus's specialized rounds probed the shield's weakening points. You dare, the Queen snarled, backing toward her throne. We are the supreme predators of this galaxy. We have hunted your kind for sport for generations. And now, Alina replied, her cybernetic eye glowing crimson, you'll understand what it means to be prey. The battle was brief but intense. The Queen Mother fought with the desperate fury of a cornered animal. But the Chens had planned for everything. Her shield fell to their coordinated assault, her personal guards were nullified by Alina's toxins, and her escape routes had been cut off one by one. As she lay dying, the Queen Mother looked up at them with a mixture of hatred and something approaching respect. You planned this all. The chaos, the paranoia, turning my people against each other. We learned from you, Marcus said, checking the feeds from the palace below. Your own hunting techniques used against you. The children, Alina added, her voice cold. The ones you hunted. They're watching this. Right now. Every survivor, every family member of your victims. They're seeing you die. The Queen Mother's scales dulled as the specialized toxin worked through her system. You've doomed yourselves, she whispered. The Empire will hunt you to the ends of the galaxy. No, Alina corrected her, kneeling close. The Empire is finished. Your own people are rising up, using the chaos we created. They've seen your weakness, your vulnerability. The age of the hunt is over. They stayed until the Queen Mother's eyes glazed over, recording everything for the survivors who needed to see justice done. As they prepared to leave, Alina's cybernetic eye caught movement on one of the security feeds. Marcus, she called softly. Look. In the depths of the flagship, behind a hidden bulkhead, they saw them, holding cells containing dozens of children from various species, survivors of the royal family's most recent hunts, kept as trophies or future prey. They're alive, Marcus breathed, already calculating a new extraction plan. Alina's artificial hand clenched. Then we're not finished here. These children go home. All of them. As alarms blared throughout the flagship and the Zarkanian Empire began to crumble, the Chens moved deeper into the vessel. They had come for vengeance, but they would leave with something more. A chance to heal wounds deeper than their own, to give other families what they could never have again. The hunt was ending, but the work of justice was not yet complete. Justice served. The king's private sanctuary burned. Crystal walls melted under plasma fire as the last remnant of Zarkanian royalty made his final stand. King Vexthor III, supreme hunter of the Seven Systems, had barricaded himself in his inner sanctum, surrounded by the last of his loyal guards and his most prized hunting trophies. But he wasn't watching the doors. His attention was fixed on the massive view screen showing feeds from across his crumbling empire. Impossible, he whispered, his translator crackling with distortion. All of it. Impossible. The feeds showed revolution. Common Zarkanians, inspired by the royal family's sudden vulnerability, rising up against centuries of oppression. Colonial governors declaring independence. And everywhere, the hunting lodges, those symbols of royal power, burned. Your Majesty. A guard burst in, scales dark with plasma burns. The human children. They're being evacuated. Someone's broadcasting their rescue across all channels. The king's response was cut short by an explosion that shook the sanctuary to its foundations. When the smoke cleared, Marcus and Alina Chen stood in the ruined doorway, their armor scared but their weapons steady. Just one left, Alina said softly, her cybernetic eye glowing as it analyzed the king's defenses. Humans. The king's laugh was hollow. Of course it was humans, our favorite prey, coming to bite back. He rose from his throne, his massive frame towering over even his guards. Did you really think 2 assassins could bring down an empire built on 10,000 years of hunts? We already have, Marcus replied, gesturing to the screens. Your people have seen the truth, seen their rulers run and hide, seen that the great hunters can bleed like anyone else. The children were the key, Alina added, her artificial hand shifting configurations. Not just the ones we rescued today. All of them, over the generations. The families you destroyed, the lives you took for sport. Did you think they would forget? That they wouldn't wait for a chance at justice? The king's scales rippled with anger. Justice. We gave their lives meaning. Without us, they were nothing but prey waiting to be culled by a stronger species. No. Elena's voice was steel. You were never stronger, just more cruel. And now everyone knows it. The battle erupted with savage intensity. The king's guards were elite warriors, augmented with the finest combat enhancements the Empire could provide. But the Chens had been preparing for this moment for years, their movements perfectly synchronized, each attack calculated to maximum effect. Elena's microscopic drones overwhelmed shield generators, while Marcus's specialized rounds found gaps in enhanced armor. One by one, the guards fell, until only the king remained. I remember your daughter, the king snarled as they circled him, his ceremonial armor smoking from near misses. Such a spirited little thing. She ran for hours before Prince Vexthor finally caught her. We made recordings, you know. Would you like to see your child's last moments? Elena's response was a burst of fire that shattered his left knee, matching the wound they'd given his son. The king staggered but didn't fall, his enhanced physiology keeping him upright. The Perseus colony was better, he continued, desperation making him cruel. So many children, all running, hiding, screaming for their parents. We made an art of it. Marcus's shot took his other knee. The king crashed to the floor, his massive frame shaking the sanctuary. But still he laughed, the sound edged with madness. Kill me then. My death will change nothing. The hunt is in our blood. Others will rise, take up the tradition. You cannot stop what we are. We're not here to stop what you are, Elena said, stepping closer. We're here to show what we are. Her cybernetic eye interfaced with the sanctuary systems, broadcasting what was about to happen across every channel in Zarkanian space. You hunted children, she continued, her voice carrying to millions of listeners. Made them run, made them hide, made them watch their families die. All for sport. And now, Marcus added, those children have grown up. The ones who survived, the ones who remember. They're all watching. This is their justice. The king's death was neither quick nor merciful, but it was justified. When it was done, Elena transmitted one final message across the empire. The hunt is over. The prey has evolved. Hours later, they stood in the medical bay of their ship, watching as the rescued children were treated by emergency medical teams. Species from a dozen worlds, all victims of the royal family's twisted sport. Many were orphans now, their families lost to the hunts. But they were alive, and they were free. Director Zhang is coordinating with allied worlds, Marcus reported, checking his secured comm. Rehabilitation programs, counseling, family reunification where possible. They'll be taken care of. Elena watched through her cybernetic eye as a young Zarkanian doctor, one of many who had turned against the regime, gently treated a human child's wounds. They'll need more than care, she said softly. They'll need to know they're safe, that the monsters can't hurt them anymore. They know. Marcus gestured to a view screen showing celebrations erupting across human space. Everyone knows. The hunters became the hunted, and they fell. That story will be told for generations. Elena's artificial hand found his, squeezing gently. Sarah would be proud, she whispered. Yes, he agreed, watching as more ships arrived to help with the evacuations. But this was about more than vengeance. This was about justice, about showing the galaxy that humanity doesn't just survive. We protect our own. As their ship broke orbit, leaving behind a changed empire and a new era of galactic politics, Elena accessed one final recording. The image of their daughter, smiling, frozen in time. But now the image didn't bring only pain. It brought something else. The knowledge that her death had led to something greater, that other children would live because of what they had done. The hunt is over, Elena said softly, closing the image. But our work isn't. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. There are other monsters out there, other children who need protection. Then let them come, Elena replied, her cybernetic eye gleaming with purpose. Let them all come. They'll learn what the Zarkanians learned, that humanity isn't prey anymore. We're the apex predators now. Their ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a transformed galaxy. The age of the royal hunts was over, replaced by something new, an era where the hunters had learned to fear their prey, and where humanity had shown that the most dangerous predator wasn't the one with the sharpest claws or the strongest armor. It was the one with the longest memory, the deepest loves, and the will to turn vengeance into justice. The hunt was over, but the legend of the human assassins who brought down an empire was just beginning.